The world has seen time and time again that being a teen pop star can be extremely challenging. The pressure to be a good role model and constantly follow societal norms creates an environment where they can't make mistakes like every other teenager. There isn't a more notorious company known for creating these perfect teen stars than the Disney Channel. During their reign in the 2000s, they produced some of the biggest artists we know today, like Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, Miley Cyrus, and the Jonas Brothers. In today's world, all of these artists are radically different, but in their Disney days, they all had one thing in common: a purity ring. A ring that publicly declared they were saving their virginity until marriage. It was one of the many ways that helped establish them as innocent teen stars. As each star grew up though and moved out of the Disney machine, they all individually began to take it off. But it begs the question as to why they all put it on in the first place and did so in such a synchronized manner. In this video, we're going to be unpacking the teen star purity ring trend. Let's get into it. In order to understand how teen stars got so enraptured in the purity ring movement, it's important to understand the political atmosphere and general attitude towards sex education at the time. All throughout history, sex education has been a topic of debate. Conservative religious groups typically want to teach the idea of abstinence till marriage, while other groups want a more comprehensive curriculum that teaches things such as condoms and birth control. Throughout the late 90s, abstinence-only sex education was starting to gain a lot of steam, but it wasn't until 2001 that newly elected President George W. Bush created an initiative that supplied direct federal funding to abstinence-based programs, one of which was called the Silver Ring Thing, which was a religious program that got kids and teens to make pledges of virginity by putting on a purity ring. Every year of Bush's presidency, he continued to increase the federal funding to these abstinence programs. As political changes were being made to sex education, there was also a transition going on in pop music at the same time. By the early 2000s, bubblegum pop stars like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and Justin Timberlake, who once ruled the teen market in the 90s, were slowly becoming more and more sexual. Christina released Stripped, Justin released Justified, and Britney released Britney. All these albums took them away from their innocent images and left the teen market unattended for. Cue the Disney Channel. The Disney Channel had already learned what their TV actors could do when Britney, Justin, and Christina left the Mickey Mouse Club and went on to become successful pop stars. Disney began utilizing in-house talent and giving them resources to launch music careers. Their first successful attempt at creating a cookie-cutter pop star was Hilary Duff, who was the star of The Lizzie McGuire Show. They partnered her with producers like The Matrix and released her debut album Metamorphosis on August 26 of 2003. The album ended up debuting at number 2 on the Billboard 200 and sold 2.6 million copies in just 5 months. Soon enough, other actors like Demi Lovato, the Jonas Brothers, and Selena Gomez released their albums and gained even more commercial success. While Disney did require their teen stars to be on their best behaviors, they never made them wear a purity ring. The truth is, a lot of the Disney teens that were popular in the late 2000s were just from southern religious homes and were given purity rings when they were really young. The Jonas Brothers were the first ones to publicly wear their purity rings though, and they received a lot of questions about it in interviews. It wasn't until the 2008 VMAs that their purity rings would become the subject of national news. This is because the host Russell Brand made a plethora of jokes about their rings, to which singer Jordan Sparks replied with this.
Alright, I just have one thing to say about promise rings. It's not bad to wear a promise ring because not everybody, guy or girl, wants to be a slut. Alright, so anyway.
What Jordan said was obviously problematic, But it does go to show the type of slut shaming that was going on in the 2000s, and how if one didn't abstain, they were automatically seen as a slut. The jokes about the Jonas Brothers wearing purity rings continued on for a large part of their early careers, but it was really when the media saw female pop stars put on purity rings that the jokes turned into a much more serious matter. Miley Cyrus is the best example of this. Multiple times in interviews, Miley was put on a pedestal for being a good role model and wearing her purity ring. However, the praise was usually at the expense of shaming prior child stars who developed adult images. 2007 party girls like Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan were constantly vilified in the media in an attempt to put Miley in a positive light. It put an immense amount of pressure on Miley to remain innocent, and we all know that didn't last long. By the year 2009, something had changed in the political atmosphere. President Obama was elected into office and eliminated abstinence-only sex education programs in favor for comprehensive sex education programs. Pop stars then, one by one, began taking off their purity rings and explaining their true feelings behind them. Selena took off her purity ring once she began dating Justin Bieber and told Sunday Times, quote, "I'm not embarrassed to say I wore the ring. I'm also not embarrassed to say the ring has to come off. I got it when I was 13 and I respect so much what it represented, but it isn't for everyone." When Nick Jonas was asked about the media attention the group got for the purity ring, he said, quote, "The very simple answer is that it was incredibly annoying, and then it became a defining factor of who we were as a band, which was disappointing. I was just trying to navigate love and romance and what sex even meant to me at a sensitive age." Perhaps the singer most affected by the purity rings was Demi Lovato. In March of this year, Demi described how they felt they could not publicly discuss their sexual assault story because they were already seen as this perfect role model who declared their virginity with a purity ring. Teen pop stars of the 2000s definitely had it tough with how perfect they had to be. Luckily, teen pop stars of today are seen in a totally different way. Whereas previous pop stars were forced to attain this unrealistic level of perfection, today's teen pop stars are allowed to be themselves and are in fact praised for being authentic. Whether it's Billie Eilish, Conan Gray, or Olivia Rodrigo, they all make it a point to be transparent in their music and public image. It just goes to show how much society, politics, and pop culture have changed in such a short amount of time.
What if I want to have sex before I get married?
Well, I guess you just have to be prepared to die.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, it would be forever appreciated if you liked, comment, and subscribed. To be notified when a new flashy video is up, feel free to hit the bell button after subscribing. For more pop culture content, make sure to follow Flashy Magazine on Instagram. That's all for now. Thank you guys again for watching, and we hope to catch you at the next video real soon.